Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you're doing well tonight. Good to see you all. Hopefully the chat's okay. Just take a quick look here. That looks like it's alright. Should be. You guys talking in there? Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. I apologize for the delay there. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to Forever Conscious Research Channel. Hope you're having a good day today. It's good to see you all. So, we are going to be moving on to Chapter 6 of Michael Newton's Destiny of Souls, 70 Case Studies of Life Between Lives. We will be also, the next case number will be 37. So what this book does for anyone new here or new to the concept is this channel is dedicated to helping expose the Matrix Reincarnation Soul Trap in an effort to spread awareness. It's almost like an activism role where you can prove this to yourself. All my channel should do is just be a small stepping stone for you to be able to do your own research and figure it out. This is the most important truth that one can ever learn while here on Earth. And I just ask that you give it a chance, take your time with it, and then make a decision. So, anyways, so let's get started with Chapter 6 here. Oh, why is it doing that? Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go.
The Council of Elders. Human fear of judgment and punishment. Not long after souls return to their spirit groups, they are called before a gathering of wise beings. A step or two above our guides, these ascended masters are the most advanced, identifiable entities my still incarnating clients see in the spirit world. They give them different names such as the Old Ones, the Sacred Masters, the Venerables, and pragmatic titles like the Examiners or the Committee. The two most common names I hear to describe these highly evolved masters are Council and Elders, so I use these designations to describe this body. Because the Council of Elders does represent authority in the spirit world, there are people at my lectures who immediately become suspicious when I talk about robed beings who wish to question souls about their past life performance.
Now, this is where we are at with this. You see, we are questioning this. That's how we're exposing this. The Council of Elders are parasites, spiritual parasites who are taking advantage of spirits, souls, and continually reincarnating them back down here. But it is by our own consent. We agreed to it, but we live under this veil of forgetfulness, which will be brought up multiple times through this video and probably the rest of the series. So,
one man in Toronto couldn't contain himself and loudly proclaimed to everyone in the audience, "Aha! I knew it! A courtroom, judges, punishment." Where does this fear and cynicism about the afterlife come from in the minds of so many people? Religious institutions, civil courts, and military tribunals give us codes of morality and justice which impact the conduct of millions. There is crime and punishment, and cultural traditions of harsh judgment for human transgressions that have been with us since our tribal days. The positive effects of a code of behavior and ethics connected to all religions down through history have been enormous. It has been argued that fear of divine retribution is what keeps the masses at bay with better conduct than they would otherwise have. Nevertheless, I feel there is a downside to any religious doctrine that creates personal anguish over facing a harsh final authority and maleficent spirits after death.
Okay, let's not fool ourselves. What we're dealing with here they're one and the same. Okay, Newton is just, paint brushing over it and just, changing the scenery to make you think it's different. Exactly what's going on is that these things are parasites preying on the vulnerable, which have been us. That's how we ended up here, because we have been manipulated and deceived by giving our consent to these elders, as well as a whole array of other entities that are linked to this system. Earth is basically the never-ending school that you cannot graduate from. The never-ending judgment, sinning, karmic trap.
Organized religions have only been with us within the last 5,000 years. Anthropologists tell us that in the millennia before, primal people were naturists who believed all animate and inanimate things had good and bad spirits. In this respect, the old tribal practices were not so different from the idolatry of historical religions. Many gods of old were wrathful and unforgiving, while others were benevolent and helpful. Human beings have always been uneasy about forces beyond their control, particularly with divinities who might rule their lives after death.
Yeah, and you know what else? It's not just that. It's within the spirit, too. It has nothing to do with the human condition. It has to do with the fact that you should have sovereignty and free will across the board when you go out into the universe and visit a realm. And that has been stolen from us. So it's not just a human thing. It's embedded in your spirit to desire that sovereignty.
Since fears about survival have always been a part of our lives, it follows that human beings would find death to be the ultimate danger. Throughout our long history, the brutality of life meant that judgment, punishment, and suffering would likely continue in some way after death. Many cultures around the world have fostered these beliefs for their own purposes.
And it does. It does. There is judgment and karmic issues. Karmic justice, I guess, is the best way to put it. And it's attained in a really messed up way, where you're deceived. We're deceived. And we just end up coming back here time and time again.
People were led to believe that all souls, good and bad, would pass through a dark underworld of danger and trial right after death. In the West, purgatory has long been pictured as a lonely way station for souls trapped between heaven and hell. In recent decades, the non-evangelical churches have a more liberal definition of purgatory as a state of isolation for the purification of sins and imperfections before the soul can enter heaven. With Eastern philosophy, especially among the canons of Hinduism and the Mahayana Buddhist sects, there has been a long tradition of spiritual prisons, of lower defiled planes of existence, which is also being liberalized. This concept is another reason why I am against the use of concentric circle imagery of multiple astral planes as a map for describing soul travel after death. Historically, they were designed to show multi-purgatorial cells in an underworld of judges, courts, and demons. Seekers of truth who turn to the ancient metaphysical traditions of the East find a confusing mix of superstitions, just as with Western theology. While reincarnation has long been embraced by the East, there has been the retention of the doctrine of transmigration. In my travels through India, I found transmigration to be an intimidating concept which has been used to control behavior. Under this credo, a wide variety of sins are met with the very real possibility of the soul's being transmigrated back to a lower subhuman form of life in its next cycle of existence. In my research, I have found no evidence to support transmigration of souls. My subjects indicate the soul energy of different forms of life on Earth do not appear to intermingle their energy in the spirit world. For me, The intimidation and fear transmigration engenders is a coercion of karmic justice. I have found the souls of humans on other worlds in prior incarnations to be in host bodies slightly more or less intelligent than our own species. I have never had a client assigned to another world where they were not the most dominant intelligence on that particular planet. This is by design. Rather than stages of punishment, we go through stages of self-enlightenment.
All right. Bullshit. Okay? Just again, for anyone new here, I like to call it like it is. Okay? This is... let's just continue. It's just a small thing.
Yet large segments of human society are unable to shake off the nagging feeling, built over thousands of years of cultural conditioning, that judgment and punishment must exist in some form in the afterlife, as it does on Earth. Maybe it won't be a hell with torture by the forces of darkness, but it's something unpleasant. It is my hope that what I have to say in this chapter will bring comfort to people inclined to be fearful about the possibility of punishment after death. On the other hand, there will be those who feel accountability to a council of elders may not be all that comfortable either. The Epicureanists of this world, those devoted solely to uninhibited pleasure in life while paying little attention to the plight of others, might also not be happy with this chapter. Neither will the iconoclasts, who are opposed to authority of any kind, moral or otherwise. The spirit world is a place of order, and the Council of Elders exemplifies justice. They are not the ultimate source of divine authority, but they appear to represent the last station of beings responsible for souls still incarnating on earth. These wise beings have great compassion for human weakness, and they demonstrate infinite patience with our faults. We will be given many second chances in future lives. They won't be lives of easy karmic choices, otherwise we would learn nothing by coming to Earth. However, the risks of life and sanity on this planet are not designed to cause us any further pain after death. The setting for soul evaluation.
Not designed to cause any further pain after death. Okay? What, quote unquote, your sins or your karmic debt that you've accrued while down here is used against you and flipped in a way that is giving you the never-ending guilt trip. And the never-ending guilt trip is pretty messed up, okay? Because what it does is it sucks you back into this belief that you have to make up for that. And your upcoming lifetime that you'll end up picking and being more or less pushed or quote-unquote guided to will be a result of that karmic debt, that sin. It doesn't matter how big or how small. The point is people buy into it, spirits, souls buy into it, and so the cycle continues. It's never ending. It is a debt that can never be paid out, and there's no growth. The only growth within the system is if you're playing ball. Then you get a little promotion. You might have a little bit easier of a life, but at the same time, it seems like you got to do a lot of nasty things too. I mean, look at who controls the world. Look at who holds the power. We see it in history that it's always been this way. It's just more in our face today, but it's always been this way.
My subjects state they appear before their council right after an incarnation, and many report they will visit them a second time just before rebirth. Of the two assemblages, the first seems to have the most impact on the soul. During this meeting, the major choices we made in the life just lived are reviewed with us. Behavior and accountability for our actions at important forks in our karmic path are evaluated carefully. At the first conference, we are acutely aware of our mistakes, especially if we have hurt others. If there is to be a second visit as the time draws close for reincarnation, it is more relaxed, with discussion centering around potential life choices, opportunities, and expectations for the future. Our guides notify us when it is time to go before the council, and usually they will escort us to the chambers of these ascended masters.
Oh, isn't that sweet? They'll notify you. When the council's ready for you, your slave master guides will come and beckon you. They'll call about your name, and you shall go forward in judgment and sorrow. And then you will be destroyed. No, I'm just playing around. But you get what I'm saying. It's messed up.
To the average client, guides don't appear to play a large role at these hearings. However, when a more advanced soul tells me they go to this meeting alone, it is not unusual for them to see their guides sitting on the council while they are there. When our guides do appear with us in front of the council, they are rather quiet. This is because behind-the-scene discussions about our last life have already taken place between guides and council members. As our primary teacher and advocate, guides may want to interject a thought for our clarification, or interpret some concept for us if they think we are confused at any point during the proceedings. It is my feeling that guides do far more at these hearings than many of my clients realize. The descriptions about the form and procedure of council meetings are very consistent among all hypnosis subjects. When I begin this part of a client's session, my usual approach is to ask them what happens when the time arrives to go before a group of wise beings. Here is an example of a typical response. The time of my expectation has arrived. I am to see the holy ones. My guide, Linil, comes and escorts me from my cluster group down a long corridor past other classrooms. We move into another area with a larger hallway that is lined with marble columns. The walls are textured with what looks to be frosted glass panels of many colors. I hear soft choir music and string instruments. The light is a subdued golden tone. Everything is so relaxing, even sensual. But I am a little apprehensive. We come to an atrium filled with beautiful plants and a bubbling fountain of water. This is the waiting area. After a few moments, Linil takes me into a round room with a high domed ceiling. There are rays of light shining down. The holy ones are seated at a long crescent-shaped table. I move to the center of the room in front of the table, while Linil stands behind me to my left. When I first heard about the council meetings, I wondered why it was necessary for them to be seen in any sort of authoritarian setting. Why not a simple countryside scene if they are so full of benevolence? While the younger souls told me that this setting was right and proper for their examinations.
Okay, for young souls, they're new to the gig. Okay, so that they're ignorant. Okay, they're going through this, and they're probably not going to question things as much. So it would make sense that the older souls may be a little more, not even hesitant, but just questioning, maybe a little off. Even though they're still going through it, they're going through the assembly line.
The older souls explained that there was a major reason for a domed enclosure. With this design, a higher presence effectively focuses its light energy on the entire proceedings from above. I will discuss the powerful impact of this presence later in this chapter. A great majority of my subjects visualize a dome design for the chamber of the Council of Elders. They see the chamber structure as a manifestation of a holy place on earth.
And that's the other thing I was going to bring up just a few minutes ago, is the chamber. They're saying it represents something similar to what you would see on Earth. And that's what's going on in the astral too. There's a lot of familiar surroundings that you will see up there that look similar to what's seen down here. It's, in my opinion, a way to streamline the realms together. It keeps things familiar, so you're used to it. You get used to these surroundings. So not only is it look kind of similar while you're down here, but it looks kind of similar while you're up there. And what happens? You can, as a result of that, kind of get lost. because it's familiar down there, it's familiar up there or out there, whatever you want to say, and it just falls in line. It falls in line with the whole operation going on, that they would make the settings somewhat similar. Now, mind you, the astrals got all sorts of crazy things going on, but we see Earth-like settings very, very often, or Earth-like, Earth-like settings, I guess is the best way to put it, regularly.
Celestial shell of compassion, as one client called his council chamber, is symbolic of temples, mosques, synagogues, and churches. The central table is usually long in front and may curve around at the edges to accommodate larger numbers of elders. Some clients report that they see this table on a slightly raised dais just above eye level. I have learned these nuances in setting relate to what the soul feels is necessary for a particular meeting to be most effective for them. If a soul sees its counsel in more of an authority mode, there might be reasons for this, which I will then probe with a client about the life just lived. Subjects who are regressed to the spirit world do not readily volunteer details about the scope of a specific inquiry from the elders. They must feel comfortable that the hypnosis facilitator knows their way around a council chamber. On an unconscious level, this confidence in the spiritual regressionist seems to give them mental permission to speak about their sacred memories. This is the reason why my research into human memory of the spirit world took so many years. It was like fitting the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle together. Small pieces of information about the spirit world led to larger implications which would never have occurred to me to ask about in a whole context.
And that is exactly what I do. And probably most of us in this chat room. We look at this stuff, and it's like a big puzzle. All of it's scattered all over the place, and you're getting a little piece here, little piece there, little piece there, and you're slowly putting that puzzle together. And then that's how this whole thing becomes exposed. Michael Newton, flat out, is a gatekeeper, okay? He is, I'm not going to shit on what he's done to give us this information. We're extremely lucky to have this, as well as other past life regression therapists. And that's what happens. We see a correlation between many things. One of those is just past life regressions, but there's other things too. We're not going to get into that now, but feel free to check out the rest of my channel if you're new, and you'll see all different types of topics, and there is a research guide coming out soon.
For instance, the reason behind a raised dais in the council chamber was one small detail that expanded into a larger meaning. Another was the position of a client's guide, particularly at the first hearing. The position of the guide is usually on the left. For a long time, I did not understand why guides were usually positioned behind and to the left of most of my clients being questioned. If the soul has two guides, occasionally the junior guide will enter the room and stand on the right side. Most of the time we have just our senior guide in attendance, and only a low percentage of my subjects tell me this guide stands on the right. Whenever I asked why this was so, I received rather vague answers such as, "Oh, it is less restrictive," or "it is customary for our communication," or "we all stand in certain places out of respect."
Now you see how we get, this is another thing, the council, we do get more information on the council. It's not much, but compared to the freaking soul classes, which I would basically compare it to a blackout of information, where we just we get so little that we do not know what the hell's going on in those things. We have somewhat of an idea what's going on with the council, but again, it's selected information that is allowed to leak out. And in Michael Newton's case, he was writing some books, doing those regressions, and there's no doubt that the system used him as a facilitator for their agenda. And it's pretty wild to look at. And Newton himself talks about how he had guides in these projects. So let's not fool ourselves. He has been working on this, or was working on this, with some other entities too. So it's not just the regressions, it's also he's getting input from the outside.
For a long time, I simply stopped asking this question. Then came the day when I was working with a very perceptive advanced subject who told me about the importance of distinguishing all council communication. I revived my question about guide position and received this answer. Case 37. Asking this question.
I want you to hear this
Then
again.
came the day when I was working with a very perceptive advanced subject who told me about the importance of distinguishing all council communication. I revived my question about guide position and received this answer. Case 37. Dr. N. Why is your guide standing behind you on the left? Subject laughs. Don't you know? With most human bodies, the right side of the head is not as predominant as the left. Dr. N. What does that have to do with his position? Subject. The left side, right side thing. Not in sync. Dr. N. Are you talking about an imbalance between the left and right brain hemispheres in humans? Yes, my problem, and that of many others recently returned from Earth, is a slight weakness of energy reception on our left side. It doesn't last too long. Dr. N. And as you stand in front of the council, you are still feeling the effects of your human body? You still have that physical imprint with you? Subject. Yeah, that's what I am telling you. We don't shake off these effects by the time of our first council meeting. It seems like only a few hours since my death. It takes a while for us to get rid of the density of the physical body, the constrictions of it, before...
It almost feels like, the restrictions are saying things like that. To me, it more or less seems like, even though at this point there is no doubt there was probably some form of memory wiped on, it's impossible to know exactly when it happens, but we have some hints that it occurs at the time of going through the white light tunnel, the tunnel of white light. Okay. Now, by the time you get up to these guys, if they probably don't want you going too early, because there's probably some leftover remnants going on from the previous lifetime, even if they did zap you. So that's kind of my opinion on what he's saying here. I could be wrong. It's just something to consider.
We are completely free. This is one reason why I don't need Jerome, guide, so much at the second meeting. Dr. N. Because... Subject. By then we are sending and receiving telepathic communication more efficiently. Dr. N. Please explain to me what Jerome actually does to help you by standing on your left side. Subject. In most humans, the left side is more rigid than the right. Jerome assists in the energy reception coming into my right side from the council by blocking thoughts which might escape out the left. Dr. N. Are you saying your energy aura is like a sieve? Subject laughs. Sometimes it seems like it, on the left. By serving as a blocking agent for thoughts which might escape, he serves as a backboard, bouncing thought waves back into me for better retention. This assists in my comprehension. Dr. N. Do you think he adds his own thoughts to this process? Subject. Sure he does. He wants it all to penetrate and stay with me. Subsequent questioning with other clients confirmed...
He wants it to penetrate and stay with him. Boy, interesting words, huh? Kind of like the programming energy wave is very important here. So, want to make sure it gets done right.
The backboard effect, Case 37 told me about. At the beginning of their incarnations, while souls are learning to utilize unique and complex circuit patterns, they find that most human brains are not balanced between the right and left hemispheres. I am told that no two host bodies are the same in the way our brain hemispheres are linked to process critical judgment creativity, and language communication. This is a primary reason why the wiser souls join the fetus of a new body early rather than late in a mother's term. Past life regression therapists work with the physical body imprints of former lives that may be disabling to their client's current body. Typically, these people come to us after traditional medicine has not given them relief. For example, a physical problem may be referred discomfort from a violent past life death. Part of our job is to deprogram these carryovers whenever they become debilitating to the client. In Chapter 4, we saw how body imprints also affect souls who cross back into the spirit world with physical energy damage. I must say that before Case 37, I never imagined a human body imprint could affect communication at council meetings. I was aware that during the course of these hearings, council members might communicate with each other in a rapid pitch of high and low vibrations. The average soul misses most of this sort of intercommunication between elders. The scrambling effect here is apparently intentional. I think it is safe.
The scrambling effect here is intentional. Intentional. Scrambling effect, intentional. Right in our face.
To conclude that any conversation at council meetings requiring interpretation is usually handled by our guides. I have a rather unorthodox but effective procedure.
Okay, let's just rewind that part really quick.
Handled by our guides at council meetings requiring...
Oh, sorry.
I think it is safe to conclude that any conversation at council meetings requiring interpretation is usually handled by our guides.
So see, the guides are there as they're like a, if they're there, they're not always there as Newton pointed out, but they're like a buffer. They're an in-between party acting at the behest of the parasitic system.
I have a rather unorthodox but effective procedure for a spiritual regressionist to use that relates to communication and the council. When I am working with a subject in front of their council, I frequently tell them to ask the elders and attending guide if they know my spirit guide. The client usually answers in the affirmative, saying something to the effect that all masters know each other in the spirit world. I will then follow up with a question about why the client thinks these masters, their guide and my guide, conspired to bring them to my office on this particular day.
It's conspired to bring them to his office on the same day. It's just the last few sentences are just incredible. He is actively seeking out answers as it pertains to his guides. And then, they also mention how all the masters or guides know each other. So, again, we're dealing with this network and, putting aside the argument of oneness, things like that. They all know each other, okay? We don't all know each other. So it's really interesting that they have that going for them, but we don't up there. Just pointing that out.
Answers can be very revealing, since my clients feel synchronicity is at work. Within this process of hypnosis methodology, more often than not, a subject will remark, I see your guide suspended over your left shoulder, helping you, and laughing at your efforts to acquire more information about the spirit world than you need to know.
Yeah, oh, more than you need to know. Michael Newton, you should get in line, buddy. Slow your roll, brother, because you're not allowed to get as much as you'd like to get. So you can see how there's the manipulation going on there. The governor, so to say, of flow of information that Newton may want, but he's not going to get it because there's a watcher there.
Souls who come before their respective councils have been debriefed during orientation sessions with their guides. However, it is in front of the council where souls feel most vulnerable about their past performance.
So they feel most vulnerable. Yeah, Newton's talking about, nothing's about judgment. It's not about judgment or being talked harsh to. Yet, right in our face, here we go again. He's contradicting himself because he's putting this new age spin on the whole experience as it pertains to Earth and the astral realm and the control factor involved with all of it.
The object of council meetings is not to demean the souls who come before them,
Oh, come
or
on.
to punish them for their shortcomings. The purpose of the elders is to question the soul in order to help them achieve their goals in the next lifetime. Every soul has an awareness of the inquiry format for their life review, although they know that no two council visits will be the same. At the meetings for the younger souls, I have noticed both guides and council members are especially indulgent and solicitous. During my early research on council meetings, I learned that directed questioning by these spiritual masters toward my subjects was both firm and benevolent at the same time.
Yeah, so, good cop, bad cop. Firm and benevolent. Yeah, so, you put on the pressure, and then you send love and peace and harmony.
I'll admit that when I initially heard about these hearings, there were doubts in my mind. I felt that if a soul was summoned to appear before a body of higher beings, there were going to be certain punitive aspects to a karmic review. This was due to my own cultural conditioning. Finally, I came to the realization that going before a council has many facets. The elders are like loving but firm parents, managing directors, encouraging teachers, and behavioral counselors, all rolled into one.
I mean, when I hear this stuff and how anyone, the problem is Michael Newton's spin on it, all right? And so I really shouldn't say how can anyone not see the flat out deception going on here, because it's so obvious. It's so in our face. And it just, sorry.
What souls feel for their counsel is reverence. Actually, souls themselves are their own severest critics. I find evaluations by our soul group companions to be far more acerbic than any council elder, although our peers do lace their criticism with humor.
Yeah, and yes, we've talked about this before, how the humor aspect of things between the group everyone once someone dies and they come back to the soul group after leaving the earth realm. Oh, everything's cool, oh, you did a great job. And then there's some jokes and because some of them were involved with each other and one played the bad role, one played the good role, and all this crazy horrible stuff might have happened, and all great stuff could have happened too, and it's just like this big game. So the soul group really is about the reinforcement of each other. It's again, like we talk about how Earth is the biggest case of Stockholm Syndrome you've ever seen. The same applies in the soul group up in the astral realm. Stockholm Syndrome on steroids, my friends.
During the time when souls are moving toward the space where their counsel is waiting, there are mixed reactions. I have had subjects say they are looking forward to seeing the elders, to get a higher perspective on their progress. Others are apprehensive, but this soon passes once the proceedings begin. The elders have a way of making the souls who come before them feel welcome almost at once. One of the most obvious differences between a courtroom on Earth and a spiritual gathering of grandmasters is the fact that everyone in the chamber is telepathic. Thus, all in attendance know the whole truth about every aspect of our conduct and the choices we made in the last life. Deception is impossible. There is
No. It's not impossible because they've got the upper hand with the memory wipe. They've got the upper hand with all of these guides and masters and the soul group. Everyone's feeding off of one another. Everyone is reinforcing everything on one another. So no, there might not be the quote unquote deception, in the way we would kind of put it out there, like blatant, because it's telepathically communicated. But if you only have access to a limited amount of your memories, or if they wipe out certain fragments prior to going to the council, and then maybe they will take care of the rest later before you incarnate into the next life. Well, how the hell are you going to know? How the hell are you going to know? You're not. You're not. That's the problem. There's so many problems.
No need for rules of evidence, defense attorneys, or juries. So that they can properly plan for our future, the elders want to make sure that we totally understand the consequences of our actions, particularly toward others. The elders ask us how we feel about major...
Totally understand the consequences of your actions, and don't you forget about it. You cannot, it's impossible, you cannot attain the level of perfection that this system requires. That's another obvious thing. It's impossible. You cannot do it. There's no way you can come down here and be a perfect little angel your entire life. There's always going to be something that the system has ready and waiting to throw in your face and use against you, and then you just get pushed right through and recycled back down here.
Episodes in our life and our courses of action. Desirable actions and those that were counterproductive are discussed openly with us without acrimony or finger-pointing. Regardless of the number of times we continue to make the same mistakes, our council has enormous patience with us. We have much less patience with ourselves. I believe if the councils of all the souls from Earth I have worked with were not so indulgent, the average soul would simply give up and not come back. Souls have this right of refusal to return to Earth.
Okay. Yes, there is a right of refusal, but if you've made it to this process, trust me, you're coming back, or they're going to figure out something else to put you in until you do come back. That's the problem. There's, again, so many problems, so many proofs in our face, and it's just, you can refuse. Yes, you can refuse at the time of death, before you are interfered with, before your deceased loved ones or deities pretending to be these holy rollers that are out for your best interest, or your pets, or whoever, your best friends, the ones that you resonated with the most, or the ones that you even had some friction with, but you still loved, whoever's going to be the facilitator at the time of death. Once you initiate contact with that thing and continue to go along with the show and follow them on into the light, you're done. You're done. So you cannot make a rational choice when you've consented. You're going forward with this energy. You're being manipulated every step of the way. And then they have a memory wipe to boot on top of it all? Holy shit.
Probe for answers of how we think our host body served or hindered development. The Council is already considering our next potential body and future environment. They wish to know how we feel about another incarnation. Many subjects have the sense that their Council has not yet made up their minds about future lives for us. Nothing about this...
They haven't made up their minds about future lives for us. Oh, isn't that kind? That's so nice. They haven't made up their mind yet. Well, we're going to wait on them. Let them decide our sovereignty and what we're going to do.
They wish to know how we feel about another incarnation. Many subjects have the sense that their council has not yet made up their minds about future lives for us. Nothing about this meeting appears to be rubber-stamped. Our intent in life is of utmost importance at council meetings. The elders know all about us before we appear, but during the deliberations, how our soul-mind interfaced with a human brain is carefully analyzed.
Everything's carefully analyzed, so that, remember, they have records, recordings of every single second of every single day from cradle to grave. They have it all. And they have all the interactions, everything between the guides and the soul group. They have it all. And they make a judgment call. Now, mind you, they might not be ready to throw you down on the body, but the only reason they don't have that motivation at that moment is because they know that you need a little more time in the astral before they send your ass back down here.
They know our past record with other host bodies. This includes the control or lack of it we exercised over the baser natures and negative emotions of bodies on Earth.
But yet you have a body. The body is inherently flawed. I mean, we've talked about that before, how the body comes with flaws. The brain comes with flaws. And sometimes you don't do things that are in the best interest of you or those around you or people you may have hurt in life. Again, it's impossible to be perfection in the eyes of this system.
Compulsions, illusions, and attachments are never offered as excuses by souls for their conduct. I am not saying souls don't complain about their difficulties in front of councils. However, rationalizations about life's trials are not substituted for brutal honesty. The council is looking to see if the inner immortal character of our soul maintained its integrity in terms of values, ideals, and action during incarnation. They want to know if we were submerged by our host body, or did we shine through? Did our soul effectively merge as a partner to the human brain as one harmonious outward human personality? Council members questioned souls about the use of power. Was our influence positive or corrupted by the need to dominate others? Were we led by the convictions of others, demonstrating no personal power, or did we make original contributions?
Oh, that is it's so rich with what we know about what this place is all about. It's unbelievable, because all of the brainwashing tactics that go on down here, it is so easy to lose yourself. Incredibly easy. It's almost guaranteed at some point during the first portion of your life. And short of waking up, short of being born into a family that is quote unquote awake, it's nearly impossible not to fall victim to brainwashing and mind control.
The council is not so concerned about how many times we fell down in our progress through life, but whether we had the courage to pick ourselves up and finish strong. Appearance and composition of the council. The word elder is considered appropriate by many clients because the advanced beings who sit on their councils are visualized as elderly men. They are frequently depicted as having bald heads or white hair and perhaps beards. In questioning people about the gender of these beings, I have come to some conclusions. The high predominance of older males seen on the council is a cultural stereotype. Wisdom is associated with age, and men are seen more often than women because of our long history of male dominance in positions of authority. There are two factors that create these stereotypical images. One, what is projected to you from the council is intended to impact your own experiences and conceptions as a soul from Earth. Two, memory recall in regression involves an overlaying process. While subjects relive their experiences in front of the council in a pure soul state, they are also communicating to me from their current body with all the cultural influences which exist in life today. We are under the same influence as discarnates when we project a set of facial features from a past life to members of our spirit group. This reflects both our character and mood at the moment, as well as creating a form of instant recognition to souls who might not have seen us in a while. I am certain that regression therapists who perform my sort of work in future years will find as many women as men on these councils. Bear in mind that when I review a council meeting, it is usually between former lives in past centuries. I always take timelines into consideration when evaluating the reality of a spirit world scene in the mind of a client. Having made this statement about gender bias, I must add that most of my advanced clients, along with large numbers of intermediate souls, see their councils as androgynous. An elder may appear as sexless or be of mixed gender, flashing both male and female images to the soul. Nevertheless, since almost all
Flashing, that means it's sending energy waves. Does that necessarily translate to the answer? Does that translate to truth? Does that translate to positively identifying whatever the hell you're dealing with? No.
My clients either cannot or will not give me the names of their council members. They tend to call them he rather than she, despite a genderless appearance. Spirit guides, on the other hand, are represented equally as male and female between clients. The position of the council table is toward the back of the rotunda. The soul stands directly in the center of the room. Most of my clients say we stand out of respect.
Now, I just want to add, if you want a small example of this, actually, it's a hell of a movie. I've talked about it before. Defending Your Life shows kind of like a courtroom scene. It's not, a dome and all this other stuff like they're saying, but you can kind of get the gist of the process in a movie format. And it's a really good movie. It is a movie down the road I'm going to break down completely. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do it on YouTube, but it'll happen sometime later on after I get Soul out of the way. So definitely, if you have not seen that movie, my friends, you have to see it. Defending Your Life. Make sure you check it out. It's a must-see.
I'm not sure they have a choice. I have had more advanced souls actually sit at one end of the table with their counsel, but this is quite uncommon and considered presumptuous by the average soul. When I am told that there is no table and the elders wish my client to join them informally, I know I am working with a highly developed soul who is approaching guide status. The very young soul who has been to Earth less than 5 times sees their counsel differently than all my other subjects, as the following quote illustrates. There are 4 of us who play a lot. We do silly things when our teacher, Minari, is not around. My friends and I hold hands when it is time to be taken to see 2 important people. We go to a place which has bright colors everywhere. There is a man and woman sitting in 2 high-backed chairs with big smiles on their faces. They have just finished with a small group of kids who wave at us on their way out.
Poor kids.
This couple are in their early 30s, I would guess.
Astral kids.
They could be our parents. They are loving and kind and beckon us forward. They just ask a few questions on how we're getting along and what we would like to do in our next life. We are...
Oh, so that's interesting. It's like almost like an employment headhunter. Walk out. Oh, well, what do you think you want to do your next lifetime? Fuck out of here.
Told to pay close attention to everything Minari tells us. It's like Christmas in a department store with 2 Santas. The fact that more than one soul would appear before a council meeting is a dead giveaway that my subject is still considered a child soul.
It's a dead giveaway that the whole system's still a scam.
I learned that this individual had only been to Earth once before his current life. In my experience, somewhere between the 2nd and 5th life, this sort of council scene is altered. One client who had just made such a transition exclaimed, "Oh, how things have changed. This meeting is more formal than last time. I am a little anxious. There is a long table, and I am being asked by 3 older people to describe my progress to them. It's similar to having just finished an exam, and now it's time to find out how you scored." The typical client sees between 3 to 7 members on their council. An advanced soul might have from 7 to 12 elders. This is not a hard and fast rule by any means. However, as souls develop and become more complex, they appear to require more specialists on their panels. I do find that less developed souls are frequently unable to differentiate between individual council members, except for their chairperson and perhaps one other elder at the table. These 2 elders seem to be most engaged with the case, while those elders who are not directly questioning the soul are rather hazy in the background.
So, maybe some of these are just props. You get what I'm saying? Where they give off that feel of authority, that feel of presence, but maybe they're not there. Maybe it's just an illusion, like many other things we've run across.
Strikes me that there is some sort of protocol connected with council seating arrangements. The members arrange themselves in a row, with the less active participants located at the ends of the table. Almost always there is a chairperson seated at the center, directly in front of the soul. This elder is the primary questioner, and may also be referred to as a director or moderator. The number of council members who attend these meetings can change each time we see them, depending upon the circumstances of the life just lived and the one to come. Our chairperson and perhaps one or two other elders are normally present over great spans of time between many lives. Another curious aspect of this procedure to me is that members of the same soul group usually go before different councils. I suppose this is due to the different character aspects of each soul and their state of development. My clients are unable to explain why this is so. When I am told by a client that a member of their council has just reappeared on the panel after an absence involving a number of lives, or if a new member has appeared, I take notice. A male client told me, "After my last life, I saw a new female member on my council. She was not unkind, but gently critical of my continued insensitivity to women in my past lives. She is here to help me develop a plan to overcome my tendency to shut women out of my life. This is hindering my development." Apparently, specialists come into our panels at certain...
Now, let me just say that you will find in these stupid things that I shouldn't say stupid. But yeah, I mean, they're stupid, but the hindering of development seems to be a thing that pops up regularly. Again, you cannot be perfect in the eyes of the system. You can never graduate. It's just going to keep going. The more you keep falling for it, it's just going to keep going. There's nothing you can do. There's no way to graduate this whole system.
life. This is hindering my development. Apparently, specialists come into our panels at certain times to lend their expertise if we continue to fall into the same ruts. While facing 3 elders, a subject remarked, "Only the director in the center speaks to me. The elder on my left emanates warm, benevolent energy toward me, while the one on the right sends me serenity. It is as if I needed tranquility at this moment, because we are talking about my coping with angry emotions in life."
See that? That's the nice massage going on there. You got the left one, the right one. The right one, the left one. And they're just massaging you. And then in the center, you have the big bad council member who's going to eat you up for lunch and guilt trip you for all your misdeeds and for your anger issues and for whatever the hell else they're going to put on the table. It's unreal. It's like good cop. Actually, it's good cop, bad cop.
Another client of mine explained what had been happening at her recent council meetings in this way. "After many of my recent lives, my council has changed from 3 members to 4, then back to 3, then 4. I noticed this 4th member appears to be a bright silver color, while the others have deep hues of violet. I call him my counselor for confidence. Invariably, when I see him sitting on my panel, I know I am going to get a lecture on my lack of confidence. He tells me I'm a reticent soul, afraid...
So you see how this one goes into this situation fully expecting what to be judged on, what to be shit on for. Just completely ready, used to it. It's like, oh yeah, I got this this council member who, they know me well, and I got to go through it. Yeah.
On my lack of confidence. He tells me I'm a reticent soul, afraid to push myself with others even when I know I'm right. I tell him how fearful I am on earth, and he gently explains that when I extend myself, I become greatly loved and appreciated. I am...
Oh, what a response. I'm feared on earth, but, then he comes up with that canned response. It's clear that the spirit, the soul involved here, they don't want to deal with it. They're afraid.
Afraid of confrontation and lives of adversity. He says, "We never give you more than you can handle. Keep extending yourself. You have much to offer." This subject chose to be a woman of small stature and ordinary features in her current life, rather than accepting a tempting offer of another body choice as a dazzling beauty. She told me there was the expectation that this silver counselor of confidence would be happy with this added challenge, along with her also accepting a life with parents who belittled and devalued her while she was growing up. I asked this client what single statement from the Silver Council member was most sustaining to her over the last few centuries. She replied, "That which you gain from each difficult life, you gain for all eternity." Where a personal guide will review...
You gain for all of eternity, yet when you come back down here, you have no recollection of any of this crap. Again, we are born here under the veil of forgetfulness, with no recollection of who we are, where we came from, or why the hell we're here. The memory wipe is just sick, so you cannot grow. It's impossible to meet the requirements of this system if you cannot grow and retain your memories. That's the ace in the hole. That's what gives it all away.
How we prioritized our objectives and analyze each step after a life, our elders ask more overview-type questions. The council just doesn't inquire into our most immediate past life. Lines of questioning follow across the sum of all our lives and cover the larger picture of our progress toward self-fulfillment. The elders wish to explore if we are developing to our potential. I have come to believe...
So there's a guilt trip. Are you developing to your potential? And what are they going to think? They're in front of this goddamn council. They've already got these preconceived notions about what the guide feels or how they screwed up. And how the council feels. And I'm sure the guide and the soul group, they've all teamed up on this poor thing. And everything rolls out the way it does probably after every single incarnation.
That the committee is carefully balanced by certain elders whose character and background have some sort of common ground with the souls who come before them.
I apologize. Not after every incarnation, every death. I apologize for that. I meant death.
That the committee is carefully balanced by certain elders whose character and background have some sort of common ground with the souls who come before them. Sometimes I see a personal affinity between an elder and one of my clients. Individual elders seem to identify with the soul's character, strengths and weaknesses, interests and purposes. Despite what I have just said, I must add that the vast majority of people in hypnosis do not feel really close to the elders on their councils. They have reverence and veneration for them, but not the deep affection they display toward their spiritual guides. This is why the following case is so exceptional. Case 38.
All right. Sorry to take a break so early, but I do got to refill my water. So just, it's not going to be a full 5 minutes. Just bear with me, maybe about 3-4 minutes tops. So I'm just going to go fill my water, and I'll be right back. So hang in there with me, and I'll see you in a moment. I apologize for taking a break so early. Normally don't do that. Let's see. Where the heck is the screen? Okay. Thank you for your patience. Got back here with a little time to spare. Okay, so we are going into, I believe it's, let's do this. All right. I think we're going into case 38.
This is why the following case is so exceptional. Case 38. Dr. N. Do you see any new faces on your council since the last time you went before them? Subject, with a sudden gasp, then a deep sigh of pleasure. At last! Rendar has come back. Oh, I am glad to see him again. Dr. N. Who is Rendar? Note, subject is shaking and does not respond. Dr. N. Now, take another deep breath and relax for me, so together we can discover what is going on.
Now see, it's kind of funny. Here we go again. There's this, Michael Newton's putting person to the test. Who is Rendar? And starts shaking. It's like, oh, you're what are you, afraid to convey something? Very, very interesting. We see these weird little quirks once in a while, and it's always when there's some sort of questioning involved that isn't approved, not liked.
Where is Rendar sitting? Subject, to the left of center at the table. Still musing. It's been so long. Dr. N. How many Earth years have passed since you last saw Rendar? Subject, tearfully, after a long pause. Some 3,000 years. Dr. N. This must represent a multitude of lives for you. Why has Rendar been away so long? Subject, still tearful, but regaining composure. You don't understand the significance of his coming back on my council. Rendar is very old and wise. He is so peaceful. He was with me before my Earth cycles. Past lives had numbered so many.
So before Earth cycles would probably involve Rendar being, a guide prior, and then maybe was promoted to a council member. Just guess here.
Rendar told me I was showing great promise and developing rapidly. I was receiving assignments of importance, and then... Subject stops, choking up again. Dr. N, softly. You are doing fine. Please go on and tell me what happened to you. Subject, after another long pause. I fell from grace. I fell into the traps that so many of us do here.
I fell from grace. I fell into the traps that so many of us do here. Boy, what a surprise. And you know what I think all the time is there must be this progressive ladder that occurs. And then once you reach a certain point on that ladder, they have to knock you down. They have to give you some sort of really screwed up incarnation so that you are pretty much guaranteed to be, you go before the council after that mess, and they have to knock you down a peg. They have to put you in line. So then what happens? You end up back in the lower levels, so to say, of the ladder, and you have to work yourself back up. Very, very interesting stuff.
I grew too confident with my power. Assuming positions of authority over others was fun. It didn't matter what kind of body I had. I became self-indulgent and selfish in life after life. Rendar warned me about slowing down my progress, and I made promises to him I did not keep. So many lives wasted. I squandered away opportunities and corrupted my knowledge and power. Dr. N. Well, obviously you have turned things around recently, or Rendar would not be here. Subject: I have been working so hard to improve in the last 500 years, to care about others, to engage in service to others, to feel compassion, and now my reward, Rendar, is back. Subject begins to shake violently and cannot talk.
Oh, whoop-de-doo. What a reward. You get to see Rendar. That is the reward. Talk about ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Oh my God. I got to give up all my sovereignty. And guess what? My reward was to see Rendar again. Oh, my Lord. It's so ridiculous. So ridiculous.
Rendar is back.
Oh.
Subject begins to shake violently and cannot talk. Dr. N. After a break where I do my best to compose this client. What does Rendar first say to you at the moment you see him after his long absence? Subject: He gives me a warm smile and says, "It's good to be working with you again." Dr. N. Just like that? That's it? Subject: Nothing else is necessary. I feel the power of his great mind and know that once again he has confidence in my future. Dr. N. What do you say to him? Subject: I vow not to slip back again. Rendar's color was reported as a phosphorescent violet robe. The garment worn by both guides and council members is almost always a robe, sometimes described as a tunic. Spirits don't need clothes any more than they require buildings as places to live in the spirit world. As with so many other images people have of their spiritual life, this too is metaphoric. As pure energy, elders have deep shades of purple, but the colors of their robes may be different. The symbolism of wearing robes confers dignity, honor, and a sense of history in the minds of people who report on them.
And what do robes signify down here? Deeply spiritual masters, and this and that. You put a robe on, and it's automatically supposed to translate into respect and a higher evolved spiritual being, both in the physical as well as up in the astral, or in the astral. I like to say up because I'm just so used to saying that, but you get what I mean. The dimension of the astrals. So yeah, it's just you see how these things cross over. You have the scenery, you have the architecture, you have the priesthood type class, all sorts of different things that cross over between this realm and the astral realms. It's just wild.
People associate robes with the fields of law, academics, and theology in human society. There are many clues a therapist can gain from questioning hypnosis subjects about the colors of the robes worn by each elder on their council. These robes appear for the edification of souls from Earth. When I began to gather information about the variety of robe colors, I assumed that these differences conferred some sort of status or rank to an elder in the minds of people. During my early investigations into this aspect of the spirit world, I asked questions based upon my faulty assumptions about authority. I found the garments worn by these beings, their seating positions at the table, and the degree of participation by each council member was not hierarchical. White and purple are the most common robe colors seen by my clients. Since they are...
And, white is big down here, tannish brown is big down here, purple represents royalty down here. I mean, we've got some comparisons to throw up here.
Opposite ends of the color spectrum, this may seem incongruous. However, as Case 31 explained, white is receptive energy to beginners, while it is also a color of transference or intervention by advanced centers of thought. The white energy of younger souls denotes a process of continual self-cleansing and renewal. For the more advanced, it signifies purity and clarity. The reason white robes are seen so frequently on council members and with guides at the gateway to the spirit world is that here, white represents the transmission of knowledge and wisdom. White energy robes, or white as a halo aura on an enlightened being, signifies harmonizing and aligning thought with universal energy. Purple is the color of wisdom and deep understanding. Council members with purple and violet robes reflect their ability to govern the affairs of the souls who come before them with benevolence and love born out of vast experience. These energy colors reflected on an elder's robe have an idealistic quality of perfection bestowed upon the wearer by my clients. Black robes are never seen, but once in a while an apprehensive subject will call the elders judges when they initially enter the council chamber. Once inside, though, no soul visualizes this meeting space as a courtroom. Hoods, 4 square hats, and skull caps, all having an antiquarian flavor, may be seen on the elders. Hoods are usually thrown back from the head, which is less ominous to the viewer. These visualizations remind me of religious orders, such as the Dominicans, who wear hoods with white robes. These earthly influences of robes and tunics made out of cloth.
I mean, just the Dominicans? I mean, come on. White robes are huge across the entire realm we live in. It's gigantic. It's probably the most common color you're going to see.
Go back a long way in our history. The garments and other accoutrements reported by my subjects on elders are trappings which engender respect and reverence to wise beings, who, like oracles, interpret events in a soul's existence. The next case is a level 1 soul who has just entered the council chamber after his last life ended in 1937. Case 39. Dr. N. How many elders do you have on your council? Subject. I prefer to call them the wise ones. There are 6 sitting at the table. Dr. N. Explain to me what each wise one is wearing, and give me your impressions of what you see. Subject. Pause. Well, the one in the center is wearing a purple robe, and the others are white mixed with purple. Except for the one on the far right. She is mostly white with a touch of yellow. She is more animated toward me than the others. Dr. N. What do all these colors mean to you? Subject. It kind of depends upon the life I have just lived. The wise one in white on the right wants me to see things more clearly. The yellow-robed person has something to do with my giving and receiving support, but I don't know what that has to do with me right now. I remember someone else was in her place 2 lives ago who wore a crimson robe. That was when I returned home, to the spirit world, after being physically crippled. Dr. N. What did you think of?
And you know what? After being physically crippled means they agreed to that life. That's the sick part. But you know what? It was a learning experience. Yeah, I spent 75, 100 years down on Earth, and I was crippled. But it was all for the learning experience.
When you saw her red robe 2 lives ago. Subject. It's physical, a body-oriented color. The crimson one dealt with karmic influences involving that body. I was really worn down and angry.
And you know what? I probably should just... excuse me. We should probably just say something. Because for someone new who might come across this... Sorry, 1 minute. For someone new who might come across this tonight, me kind of saying, the learning experience, as far as if you, are unfortunate enough to be crippled in this lifetime at some point or the entire lifetime, look, my compassion and empathy go out to you, okay? And I want you to know that when I say things like that, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. It's my way of processing it. It's not meant to hurt anybody, but it's what we see with these things, with this, I covered the last book, Journey of Souls, and now we're going through Destiny of Souls. And it seems that we make these choices. Like, I have chronic Lyme disease, and supposedly I picked it out. I've had it for over 10 years now, longer. So, apparently I picked that out. Apparently I picked, to deal with that. So, and apparently someone who might be in a similar position, disabled and in a wheelchair or something like that, they picked it too, or have, like we have Stacy in here. She just mentioned that she had cancer, and she likely picked it. I mean, it's sick stuff, but that's where it all points. The truth doesn't care about our feelings, right? I mean, it's just the hard truth of what we're looking at with this stuff. But, I mean no ill will towards anybody. I have nothing but compassion and empathy. It's the complete, right there. I care about everybody. And the reason I do this work is to help people become aware of what's going on here in an effort to, when our time comes, to liberate ourselves. That's the whole reason I do this.
After that life. There was a wise one wearing green then, too, which I don't see now. Dr. N. Why green? Subject. They are skilled at healing, mental and physical. Dr. N. And do you usually see all these colors in the robes worn by the wise ones? Subject. As a matter of fact, no. Mostly I see them all wearing about the same purple color tones. This time I'm supposed to be getting some special messages. Dr. N. Let's talk about the purple-robed being in the middle. Do you think this is someone important? Subject laughs at me. Hey, they are all important. Dr. N. Okay, someone more significant to you than the others. Subject. Yeah, he's the leader. He sort of directs things.
The leader.
Dr. N.
Directs things.
Why is that, do you think? Subject. Because the others seem to defer to him. He conducts things. Mostly the others seem to speak through him. Dr. N.
The others seem to speak through him. See, it's like a channeling, a channel of information, instructions, orders. Follow the orders, step in line, and do your damn job. That's the translation I see. What about you guys? I mean, that's what I see. Or hear. Nuts.
What do you think? Subject. Because the others seem to defer to him. He conducts things. Mostly the others seem to speak through him. Dr. N. Do you know his name? Subject laughs. No way! We don't circulate in the same social circle around here. Dr. N. How does the meeting open for you? Subject. The director says to me, Welcome. We are glad to have you with us again. Dr. N. What do you say? Subject. Thank you. But I'm thinking, I hope this goes all right. Dr. N. What kind of thoughts do you pick up then from the chairman, who seems to be running things? Subject. He doesn't want me to feel the wise ones are so superior that I can't talk to them. This meeting is for
let's rewind that. All right.
Me running things. Subject. He doesn't want me to feel the wise ones are so superior that I can't talk to them. This meeting.
Yeah, you see, it's the reassurance to make you feel as if you're in control, to give you off that illusion. It's this big game. It's the biggest game of mind fucker you can possibly imagine. It's insane. It's insane, and it's right there. It's in our face. And Newton sold so many of these books. So many. I mean, this one, I think, what was it, 200,000? This is the second book, I think. Don't quote me on this. I could be totally off, okay? But I thought Journey of Souls sold, was it 5 million copies? 2 million? I don't know how many copies he sold. A ton. Maybe it was 500,000. I'm mixing it up. But anyways, it was a lot of books, okay? And if you look at people who review these books and talk about them, or if you go into, Amazon or I think Goodreads, all these sites, and you look at these reviews, nobody's questioning a damn thing. So it shows you just like how we learn things about how propaganda occurs with through the TV, through the radio, the newspaper, magazines, the internet, yada yada yada. All that stuff. It's how it's presented. Newton puts his twist on this stuff. And what does that do? It gets people thinking a certain way. It sucks them into his analysis of it, his unnecessary commentary. It's unnecessary what he puts out there. And guess what? He's got guides helping him. Well, those guides helped write this damn book. Those guides helped those damn regression sessions and have him interpret it in certain ways that is more actually completely agenda driven. So just crazy.
Thing is for me. Then he says, "How do you feel about your progress since we saw you last? Did you learn anything new we can talk about?" Pause. This is the way these meetings open. They want to hear what I have to say. Dr. N, do you feel more relaxed now? Subject. Yeah. Dr. N, give me an idea of how things proceed from here. Subject. Pause. We start with what I did right. I had a successful company which employed many people in my past life. I'm turning this over in my mind. I want to make a good impression by telling them about my charity contributions. You know, my good acts. Pause. Then things drift into the way I ran my company. My inability to avoid conflicts, disagreements, and anger with my employees. Subject grows agitated. It's so frustrating. And I'm working on this. But then stops. Dr. N, please go on. Does your guide assist you in any way with this? Subject. My guide Joaquin speaks from behind me. He sums up the main parts of my life and my objectives to contribute to society by employing people during the Depression. Dr. N, sounds good to me. Are you happy with the manner in which Joaquin is presenting you to the wise ones? Subject. Well, yes. He states what I wanted to do and then what actually happened. His tone is even. Joaquin does not defend or praise me. He simply relates my participation in the events during a bad time in America. Dr. N, do you think of Joaquin as your defense attorney? Subject, abruptly. No, that's not the way things are here. Dr. N, is Joaquin objective in his summation of your life? Subject, yeah, but we've hardly started. I'm forming my thoughts about how well I provided for my family, but this kind of gets mixed up with my professional life. I can't get how I treated my employees out of my mind. This really bothers me. Joaquin is quiet now. He doesn't want to interfere with my thoughts. Dr. N, then let's stay focused with the thoughts between you and your council of wise ones. Please continue. Subject. I'm trying to anticipate their questions. I know I enjoyed accumulating material possessions in my life. They want me to tell them why, and I say that it made me feel valuable as a person, but I stepped on people. Then they bring up similar actions on my part from former lives, and if I feel I am doing better. Dr. N, do you think their thought probes about your past are jeopardizing the summary of your current life in some way? Subject. No, there is no harsh edge to their questions. I'm okay with this, but now my mind is racing, and I think of my charity work again as something I should stress. Then stops. Dr. N, encouraging. You are doing just fine with this. Tell me what happens next. Subject. The wise one in the center. His powerful mind envelops me. Dr. N, what does he communicate to you exactly? Subject, slowly. This is what I hear in my mind. Emmanuel, we are not here to judge you, punish you, or to override your thoughts.
Even though we heard things about overriding thoughts and well, not in that exact words, but we heard it earlier. They said it differently. I don't remember exactly what they said, but the point is they they mentioned what was it? Transmissions, or I don't remember the words they used, but the point is they brought it up before, and now they're going for, we don't want to do it. We love you. You're the best. We would never send intrusive thoughts or misdirection to you. Never. It's just so ridiculous.
We want you to look at yourself through our eyes if you can. That means to forgive yourself. This is the most challenging aspect of your time with us, because it is our desire that you accept yourself for who you are, with the same unconditional love we have for you. We are here to support you in your work on earth.
We are here to support you. We're here to love you. It's all one big love fest. Peace and love, baby. Peace and love.
Toward that end, we would remind you of the bus stop incident. Dr. N, the bus stop incident. What does that mean?
Dun, dun,
Subject,
dun.
pause. I was confused myself when he said it. I looked back at Joaquin for assistance.
Oh, we're not going to interfere with you. I looked back at Akeem for assistance. Come on. You kidding me? Kidding me? There's another contradiction right there. Boom, we just proved it with this one. They just said the opposite just about what? A minute ago, 30 seconds ago. And now we see good old Hakeem coming in and they're going to make sure to correct the record. They're going to set things straight.
Dr. N, explain what happens then, Emmanuel.
Yeah, man.
Subject,
Come on.
the wise one in the center. His thoughts come to me once more. You do not remember this incident? The woman who you helped one day while she was sitting at the bus stop? I said, no, I don't. Then they wait for my memories to kick in, and someone sends a picture into my mind. I'm beginning to see. There was a woman once. I was walking toward my office with my briefcase. I was in a hurry. Then I heard this woman crying softly to my left. She was sitting at a bus stop next to the sidewalk. It was during the Depression. People were desperate. I stopped. Then, on impulse, I sat down next to her and put my arm around her, trying to comfort her. This was a very unnatural thing for me to do. Pause. My God, is this what they are interested in? I was with this woman for only a few minutes before the bus came. I never saw her again. Dr. N.
All right, what's really funny about this, guys, something we'll see time and time again with near-death experience, life reviews, life reviews, and in these past life, more so in the past life regressions, but it does pop up in near-death experiences where there are these one moment where you did the most smallest thing possible, something you would never probably even remember, or you might remember it, but a lot of times still the people will say, oh, well, God, I totally forgot about that moment. So that, it's nothing they're thinking about, but yet the control system will throw it on out there as if it's the biggest thing on earth. And normally it is actually a really nice gesture. Or in this case, sitting out at the bus stop holding hand, blah, blah. It's always something really, really small and minute. But they pick those moments when I'm sure there's even other ones that are like way more important. But they pick like the most obscure moment of someone's life to point out, oh my God, can you believe you were a walking saint in this situation? You were just amazing. And what you did, oh, you're going to get a promotion. All right, back to the reincarnation chamber.
How do you feel now about the wise one bringing up this incident during your hearing? Subject: it's so crazy. An entire lifetime of giving money to charity, and they are interested in this. I gave this woman no money. We only talked. As my client and I evaluated this meeting, I reminded him why I thought the smiling female council member on the far right wore a robe of yellow. This might be to acknowledge his spontaneous act of support to a stranger at the bus stop. Less developed souls standing in front of their councils often have entanglements of memory as they purge themselves. While they are self-absorbed, they may miss what is important. Emmanuel felt sorry for the woman at the bus stop. Although he was in a hurry to get to his office, he sat down next to her. His brief, compassionate gesture did not last long. Yet in those moments, I learned that Emmanuel reached her pain, looked into her eyes, and told her she was going to make it through her troubles because he was confident she could be strong. She stopped crying, and when her bus came, she stood up and told him she would be all right. Then he hurried off and forgot this brief act of kindness for the rest of his life. The bus stop incident in this case appears to be a small thing when stacked up against a lifetime of other acts. It was not a simple act to the council. As we move through life...
Well, that's the point. It's not a simple act to the council. And they pick these obscure moments. It's so weird. It's like, oh, see, that one moment you were super special.
There are many gestures between people that are uplifting. They may be so momentary that we are not conscious of them at the time. In the spirit world, nothing is insignificant. No act goes unrecorded. There are no hard and fast rules about the meaning behind every color the elders might choose to show the souls who come before them. For instance, the red robe worn by the council member in the last case related to the need of Emmanuel to sustain the passion for life within a broken host body in a former life. In the next section, I will explain the meaning behind other symbols worn by council members. A red robe, or red stone on a medallion or ring displayed by an elder, can have several meanings depending on the setting. Red is the color of passion and intensity, and Emmanuel saw a crimson robe after one of his lives with physical disabilities. However, in another case, an elder could display a ruby medallion to denote the need for a soul to have a greater passion for truth than was shown in a former life. The subtle variations of color translation at council meetings are unique to every soul's own perceptions. As one of my subjects said, "The wearing apparel of my council shows their mastery over a certain discipline. The colors they display in different forms also relate to the topic under discussion. These represent gifts of awareness to me as I face my council. No elder is greater than the other because each is an aspect of ultimate perfection." Signs and
Each is an aspect of absolute perfection. What balls? What balls saying that? Can you believe the gall on these things? Absolute perfection. Well, what horse did you ride in and take that title for? Unreal.
symbols. From the dawn of human history, our race has sought hidden spiritual meanings through interpretations of what we see around us. I remember how I felt climbing into the cave sanctuaries of Paleolithic humans along the Dordogne Valley in France. Inside these caves, one is taken back to the Stone Age by the symbolic art along the walls. They are among the earliest representations we have of human spiritual consciousness. For thousands of years, primal cultures around the world used rock pictures and diagrammed pictographs to represent ideas relating to magic, fertility, sustenance, courage, and death. Indeed, down through the long centuries since that time, we have sought personal revelation through signs from the supernatural. The earliest signs were taken from the animal kingdom, from stones and the elements. We use symbols of all sorts as embodiments of power and instruments of insight and self-development. Ancient cultural attachments to mystic symbolism were often associated with the desire for transfiguration of our higher self over the primitive side of human nature. The rites and symbols of secret mystical societies, such as the Gnostics and the Kabbalists, may well represent soul memory on earth and human memory in the spirit world.
Funny he brings up Gnostics, who basically talk about how this whole place is a fraud and run by shitholes or shit heaps. Whatever.
Perhaps I should not have been surprised to have found emblems with meaningful signs in the spirit world. As with all physical objects visualized by subjects in hypnosis, the emblems they see worn by some elders are grounded in past life experience. Conversely, why shouldn't we carry messages from the Council to Earth within our soul mind as well? Anthropologists who have studied clay tablets, seal stones, scarabs, and amulets from our past believe that their influence to both wearer and observer went beyond physical life into the realm of disembodied souls. This custom continues today with engraved pendants, rings, and charms. Many people who wear these symbolic talismans believe they protect, but are also reminders of personal power and opportunity. The following cases may shed some light on the origins of our feelings about prophetic signs. About half my subjects see medallions hanging around the necks of one or more elders on their council. The other half sees no objects at all. Frankly, I have found no correlation between these two groups of clients in any way, including their level of development. When a medallion is seen by people, some 85% of them visualize a circular design. The others may see squares, rectangles, triangles, and star-like designs, some of which are seen in 3 dimensions. All these medallion shapes, in association with the designs on them, are significant and represent a continuity of spirit, both morally and spiritually, to the evolving soul. The medallions typically hang from a chain or sometimes just a cord. Usually the metallic disc is gold, but they can also be silver or bronze. Most clients are focused on only one medallion on the council, which is almost always worn by the chief questioner. This elder is generally positioned directly in front of the soul. Case 40.
The chief who's always on top of the soul. You know, the perceived hierarchy, the perceived controller.
Dr. N. This elder is generally positioned directly in front of the soul. Case 40. Dr. N. How many members of your council are sitting in front of you? Subject. 5. Dr. N. How are they dressed? Subject. They all have white robes. Dr. N. I want you to look carefully. Do you see any of these wise beings wearing anything on their robes? If you don't see anything, fine, don't worry about it. I'm just curious. Subject. Pause. Well, the one in the center has something around his neck. Dr. N. Please describe what you see. Subject. I don't know. It's on a chain. Dr. N. What is on a chain?
Looks like Biggie and Tupac entered the room.
Subject. Something round. A metal disc. Dr. N.
Dollar bills, y'all. Love them.
I always ask this question. Is it close to the size of a grapefruit, orange, or walnut? Subject. The usual response. An orange. Dr. N. What color is this ornament? Subject. Gold. Dr. N. What do you think this gold medallion means? Subject. The normal response. Oh, probably some badge of office, or maybe his particular area of expertise. Dr. N. Really? Do you think it is necessary for council members to wear emblems to signify to each other what their position is? Or
How funny is it that they have bling up in the astral with the council?
any particular talent they may have? Subject. Confused. Well, I don't know. I mean, how could I know? Dr. N. Let's not give up on this so easily. We might learn something together. Subject. No answer. Dr. N. Describe what you see on the gold medallion. Subject. The usual response. I can't see it very well. Dr. N. I want you to move closer so you can see the emblem more clearly. Subject. Reluctant. I'm not sure I should. Dr. N. Let's look.
I'm not sure I should. See? Cutting a little too close to home. The entities don't like that.
Look at this logically. If you were not supposed to see the emblem, your chairperson would not allow you to see it. Think about this. Does it make sense that these highly developed beings would openly display adornments on their robes, which you are not supposed to see? And why would they need to display them for each other? Subject. I suppose you're right. Still reluctant. I guess it would be okay for me to move a little closer. Dr. N. Just so you know, talking to me about this is not a violation of confidentiality. Look at the expression on the face of the elder wearing the emblem. He knows what you are thinking. Tell me what you see. Subject. A kindly expression. Helpful.
Interesting, he says, look at the expression on the elders. He knows. If you think about that, it's almost like a redirection of, it's okay. It's okay. You can do it, but only if you get the proper order. You got to make sure that you're taking the right transmission of information here so that you don't say too much. That's just how I'm putting it. Feel free to think of it how you wish, but that's kind of my interpretation here.
To me. Dr. N. Then I am sure he would not want you to miss anything pertaining to this meeting. Move forward and tell me what you see on the metal disc. Subject. Now more confident. I can't make out the writing around the side. It looks like filigreed lace. But on the raised part of the disc in the center, I see a big cat with its mouth open. Dr. N. Give me more details about the cat. Is it a house cat? Subject, more forcefully. No, it's a profile of a mountain lion with a fierce face and large teeth. Dr. N. Anything else? Subject, with recognition. Oh, there is a hand holding a dagger under the lion's neck. Long pause. Ah, yes. Dr. N. You know now what this is all about, don't you? Subject, quietly. Yes, I think I do. It is from my Indian life. Dr. N. We haven't talked about that life. Tell me when and where this life took place, and how the big cat fits in. This client, whose spirit name is Juan, proceeded to explain that in 1740 she was a young Indian woman in North America. She was out in the forest one day digging roots with her 2 children. The men of her village were off hunting. Suddenly, she saw a big cat jump out of a tree and move toward the children. Juan dropped her basket and ran directly at the cat. She said, "There was only time to pull out my stone knife. Then he was on top of me. Just before the lion killed me, I was able to thrust up deep into his neck. Later, the men found me and the lion dead, but the children were safe." When I asked Juan why she was being shown this emblem of the cat, she said, "To signify I displayed courage here, and I must use it more in other lives." I always verify the design of medallion carvings with a post-hypnotic suggestion at the end of my sessions. I have my clients draw me a picture of what they saw. The depiction of Juan's hand killing a mountain lion on the medallion was intended to send a strong message of capability and courage. My client came to me because she was fearful of dying at age 39, because her brother had died 2 years before in his 39th year, while driving recklessly. She had just had her 39th birthday, and we found there was a tenuous quality about her existence. In the course of our session, my subject learned that in the life following her Indian life, she and her 2 children had been abandoned by her trapper husband in a Wyoming cabin during a harsh winter in the 19th century. This husband, who was her brother today, was restless and wanted his freedom from family responsibilities. Thus, this case involved a karmic transference of roles by an unsettled soul in one's spirit group, who went from an errant past life husband in the 19th century to a rather wild brother in the 20th. As the trapper's abandoned wife, Juan told me she did not fight hard enough to save herself and the children by putting on snowshoes, a backpack, and trying to get out to civilization while she still had food. She was afraid and rationalized that her husband would return before she and the children starved. The council showed Juan the cat medallion, not only as a counterpoint to the lack of resolve in the Wyoming life, but also for her fearfulness today. I'm glad Juan saw the contemporary message of this symbol of courage in our session, because the soul of her brother had volunteered for the probable short life to test my client again and deal with his own karma of abandoning people. I know it seems odd that these ethereal beings on the council would be seen by souls as having a body of light energy in human shape, wearing robes with ornaments. When I initially detected the medallions, I did wonder if they were chains of office. I learned that these pendants and their designs had nothing to do with an elder's status on the council, but everything to do with offering a message of inspiration to the souls who come before them. As with so many aspects of the spirit world,
A message of inspiration. Oh, how cute.
these symbols did not reveal themselves easily to me. In the early stages of my inquiries into medallions, my questions would elicit enigmatic responses to the effect that an emblem's meaning was unfathomable, or that the elder was sitting too far away to make it out. For too long I accepted these explanations. Then I changed tactics. As can be seen from the last case, I now tell subjects that it does not make sense that elders would wear an insignia for personal recognition with each other. Since these
Why not? Why not? Why wouldn't it make sense? I mean, everything else has a hierarchy to it. Why the hell would it be any different here? I mean, just because they're, just because they're in this, just whatever. It's ridiculous. There's a hierarchy. It's so clear. You have the guides, or the masters, and then you have the council. It's all right in our face. You have the soul group manipulation, and I'm sure, you have even you even have the guides or masters that occasionally will cross over into soul groups, or the ones who maybe even a soul group who might not be a master or guide master, same thing, who cross over into another soul group to share something. Funny how that information cannot be obtained unless it's transmitted through something else, someone else. It's because it's compartmentalized, just like all the bullshit we see down here. Everything's compartmentalized. You have a company that works on something, and let's just say it's a really important invention, okay? They compartmentalize it to make sure that no one can steal the entire design, but they still want the project done. Very similar concept here. Almost identical, actually. Just with a little twist. It's just a different thing.
As beings already know everything about each other, these medallions have to be for the benefit of the soul they are interviewing. They might be changed over time after a karmic lesson is learned. However, some scenes appear not to change at all. Once a person in hypnosis realizes the emblems are not symbols of a secret society belonging only to their particular council, they open up. This allows the client to make the mental distinction between an observer caught up in an event over which they have no control to that of an active participant. Responses improve by giving the client permission to recognize what essentially already belongs to them as a soul. The therapy I am able to utilize in their current life from this aspect of interlife council meetings is worth the effort. The passages from the next case are unusual because the subject knows the names of 3 council members, all of whom have medallions. Case 41. Dr. N. As you look more closely at the emblem worn by your chairperson, please describe it to me. Subject. Drit wears the head of an eagle. It is turned sideways on the gold disc in bold relief. Its beak is wide open. I can see the bird's tongue. Dr. N. Okay. What does all this mean to you? Subject. Drit is giving me a message to fly high and scream into the silence. Dr. N. Can you tell me more? Subject. Drit says I must engage with my silence in life. I can't live in my own world all the time. Unless I break out and rise above life's circumstances.
You can't live in your own world all the time. You can't look within. You can't do this. You can't do that. You're just going to, again, sovereignty is at the forefront of everything we talk about on this channel. Sovereignty and consent. Those are the 2 things. And what do we see here? You can't do this. You can't. You're not allowed. Fall in line or we're going to make you fish. I'm just joking, but you get what I'm saying. You're going to end up on the streets in your next lifetime, begging for money every second of the day in order to get by. Insanity.
I will not progress. Dr. N. And how do you respond to Drit's message? Subject. I just don't accept this. I tell Drit there was enough noise by others in my past life. I didn't need to add to it. Dr. N. What does Drit answer? Subject. He says I could have made the world louder, but better, by being more vocal in what I knew to be the truth. Dr. N. Do you agree with his assessment? Subject. Pause. I suppose I probably could have participated more, to engage others, and fought for my convictions. Dr. N. Do you always see the eagle design after your lives? Subject. No, only when I fall into my old patterns of silence. Sometimes his disc is blank. Dr. N. Are you having trouble with the same issue in your current life? Subject. Yes, that's why I came to you, and why Drit has now reminded me of this lesson. Dr. N. Does anyone else on your council wear an emblem? Subject. Yes, that would be Tron. He sits to the right of Drit. Dr. N. Please describe the design on Tron's medallion for me. Subject. He wears an emblem engraved with a cluster of golden grapes. Dr. N. Are you saying the grapes are gold, rather than appearing in their natural colors? Subject shrugs. Yes, they are gold because the disc is that color. The emblems are always metallic. Dr. N. Why is that? Subject. I'm really not sure. For me, they represent objects that are precious and long-lasting. Dr. N. What does the symbol of a cluster of grapes mean to you? Subject. Pause. Tron wears the sign of the fruit of life, which can be eaten. Absorbed. That is, to grow with knowledge. Dr. N. Why a bunch of grapes rather than, say, an apple? Subject. The cluster of grapes represents not a single fruit, but multiples of the same fruit, to absorb different aspects of the same whole. Dr. N. Would you care to...
Whoa, let's rewind that little beauty.
Cluster of grapes represents not a single fruit, but multiples of the same fruit, to absorb different aspects of the same whole.
To absorb different aspects of the same whole. It's just right there. Fragmentation, right in our face. Again, the honesty coming through, the veiled interpretations that if you're just listening to Michael Newton's fluff piece of all this and not listening to what the people are actually saying who are going through these regressions, you get two different versions. You get Michael Newton's version, and then you get your own version. The key thing is to listen to what they are saying. Truths come out left and right. But just ignore whatever the hell Michael Newton's interpretations are, or the cloaked agenda-driven narrative that continually pops up in these books. It's unreal how much we get, but it's just so twisted. It's absolutely twisted.
Dr. N. Would you care to expand on this message by Tron? Subject. That by absorbing this symbol, each grape, into myself, I will grow and flourish from every experience. Dr. N. Do any other members of your council wear emblems? Subject. Pause. Shy. She wears the emblem of the key as a reminder to open the door of knowledge, and by doing so accept the fact that the answers to my problems lie within my abilities to solve them. With Case 41, it was the eagle design which had the greatest prominence. Birds on medallions are not unusual. One man told me that his chairperson had an emblem of bird feathers with a thistle in the center, to remind him of a number of lives in the Highlands of Scotland. He stated, In those lives as a clansman, I soared up mountain crags, fighting British oppression for the freedom of my people. A female client saw a swan emblem on an elder, which denoted growth through change. She said, I am being reminded that at birth, this beautiful creature is awkward and can't fly. This represents my own metamorphosis from an ugly duckling into someone imposing.
From an ugly duckling to someone imposing. Oh, the games. Endless games.
Productive person in my last series of lives. Occasionally, a fish is seen on a medallion. A client told me that for him, this symbol represented a creature who could swim against a current and still be in harmony with its environment. For some reason, Human figures are rarely seen on council emblems. When I do hear of them, I find their symbolic meanings to be intriguing. For example, one example of the use of a human figure on a medallion occurred in the case of a 30-year-old woman called Noreen, who came to me because she did not want to live anymore. Her husband had committed suicide some months before, and she wanted to follow him. During the session, we found out this soulmate had lost his life in a logging accident at age 26 in their previous life together. Couples in life each have their own karmic path, which may involve different issues from each other. However, these issues are frequently intertwined when souls from the same cluster group agree to work together, especially in a marriage. Noreen did not do well as a young widow in her last life, particularly in her refusal to open her heart to anyone else. For the remainder of that life, Noreen was inconsolable and died in bitterness of self-inflicted emotional wounds. Facing her counsel at the end,
Self-inflicted. Oh, the poor thing. God forbid she lost her husband. She's all upset. And yet, initiate guilt trip. Feel maximum guilt. Feel maximum sorrow. Feel maximum lack of love. The attachment's just rolling on in like a freight train.
For the remainder of that life, Noreen was inconsolable and died in bitterness of self-inflicted emotional wounds. Facing her counsel at the end of this past life, she was told by the chairperson, "You didn't let your spirit grow, did you?"
You didn't let your spirit grow, did you? Noreen, get it together, honey. What are you doing? What are you doing, Noreen? We're gonna have to send you back. You're gonna have to get it right this time. It's not good. It's not good what's going on. I don't know what you're up to, Noreen, but it's not good.
Apparently, the same lesson has been presented to Noreen in her current life, to see how she will handle it. I want to stress that this was not why her husband committed suicide. I have had cases where a spouse will intentionally choose a body that has a high probability of dying young from a variety of natural causes to allow the surviving spouse to again work through grief in a more healthy fashion. Suicide is not one of these options. Suicide by a physically healthy young person is not a prearranged karmic option for anyone. From my experience,
it's not a prearranged karmic option for anyone. That's interesting, right? Because I can't go down this road. This is the one area I gotta be careful.
I believe the odds are that if Noreen's husband had not committed suicide, he probably would have died young from some sort of accident. At the time of our meeting, my client believed it was not possible to go on without the man she loved. Her extreme despondency also carried feelings of guilt that somehow she might have been responsible, although her husband's suicide note carried just the opposite message. I feel that taking this client back to her last council meeting and viewing once again the medallion she saw is making a difference in her life today. Case 42. Dr. N. I want you to tell me exactly what design you see on the chairman's medallion. Subject. The first thing I see is an animal, a deer. No, I think it is a gazelle. It is jumping in mid-flight. Dr. N. Good. And do you see anything else you can talk about? Subject. Pause. There is a human on its back. This really stands out boldly in the center. Dr. N. I see. Is it similar to a bas-relief carving? Subject. Yes. The gazelle and human figure are turned sideways to me. You know, like I'm watching them from an angle as they race across a plain? The human is faceless, but has long hair and the delicate body of a woman. The one leg I can see is bent. She is riding. One arm is raised, holding up a torch. Dr. N. A shift to present time, and then a command. All right. What I want you to do is rediscover the meaning of what you are seeing. It is no accident that we are here today discussing this emblem together. It represents something you need to remember. You are a young widow for the second time in 2 successive lives. Ask for assistance from your guide if necessary. Subject. After a long pause, she responds tearfully. I know the meaning. The human is me, and I am riding east into the sunrise. The direction signifies the dawn of a new day. This animal would normally never trust a human to be near it, much less ride on its back. The gazelle trusts me, and I must trust myself to go where the animal takes me, because we must travel swiftly. Dr. N. And why must you travel swiftly? Subject. After some prompting from me and a few false starts. Because in life there is danger. Parts of this danger lie within us, our weakness, the way we sabotage, and this prevents us from...
The way we sabotage wouldn't happen to have anything to do with the conditions that you are cast down into. The all-you-can-eat buffet of fuckery, that wouldn't have anything to do with it, right? Or the all-you-can-eat buffet of fuckery before you get here? The manipulation, the deception, all this stuff that occurs before you even set foot on this place. Let alone the damn conditions you walk into, are born into, with governments, education, religion. The entire thing is rigged.
From reaching a destination, it is easy to get bogged down. Dr. N., are you saying the gazelle represents a liberating force? Subject. Yes. I must have the courage and strength to continue on with my life with a greater sense of purpose. The gazelle also represents freedom to conquer fear and have faith in myself. Dr. N., what about the torch you are carrying on the emblem? Subject, softly. Always. The light of knowledge. Our search for wisdom. This flame is never extinguished or made ineffective by shadows. Dr. N., do you see anything else on the pendant? Subject, still in a state of reverie. Oh, it is not important to me, I think. I am unable to read the Greek letters within the circle around the edge. Unfortunately, I must report that none of my subjects who see medallions can decipher the strange symbols between the 2 outer rings near the edge. The secret writing remains a mystery in my research, and I have reluctantly come to the conclusion this is one feature of the emblems that my clients and I are not supposed to know about.
You're not supposed to know about it. Boy, would I love to know what the hell's going on there. It's interesting, just these certain things we are just not allowed to know. Again, like I talked about many times with these damn soul classes, the bits and pieces of the information we get from the Council of Elders, and it's just all this compartmentalization, all this hidden stuff. You're allowed to know a little bit of this, but only if we can manipulate you. But you're not allowed to know any of that. It's just...
I should also add that much of what souls see and hear at their council meetings cannot be recreated in my office. Over the years of my work, I have come to expect that people in hypnosis cannot adequately explain all that happens in their spiritual lives because of human limitations in communication and translations which must be processed through the human brain. My subjects do not know why they cannot decipher the squiggles on medallions. They refer to them as hieroglyphics, cuneiform writing, runes, and even mathematical symbols. The script does not seem to be translatable. It could be pictorial or ideogrammic. Perhaps it is an unspoken spiritual language. I suspect the same types of symbols appear on the life books in spiritual libraries, such as the Greek pi symbol on the front of the book described by Case 30. While the life books are very personal and undoubtedly used as a chronicle of the soul's past by their guides and counsels, the writing around the edge of an elder's medallion may have nothing to do with the soul. I have come to the conclusion that if my subjects were supposed to know about this writing while in a trance state, their spiritual guides would assist them. Regardless of whether the symbolic marks they see represent sounds, ideas, or words of some sort, there may be a good reason why people cannot translate them, which has nothing to do with the client. One had this to say: "I think I'm not supposed to understand their meaning, because this is a message to my elder from a higher source."
Oh, I think I'm not supposed to understand these things because it's a message from my elder from another source. Boy, who can that be? Another layer of the pyramid is revealed. Dun dun dun. Yeah, it's one of the more head honchos of the scam and deception and the sovereign stealing bullshit that we're dealing with here. It's unbelievable. How many times can I say it? Unbelievable.
Which has nothing to do with the client. One had this to say: "I think I'm not supposed to understand their meaning, because this is a message to my elder from a higher source. Maybe this is his lesson wheel that he must decipher for his own goals." I divide what is seen on council emblems into two general categories. The first involves living or natural objects. These symbols could also include minerals, such as gemstones. The second category is the geometric designs, such as circles and straight line drawings. Gemstones may appear on both types of medallions. Council medallions are symbolic of pain and purpose, triumphs and shortcomings of the souls who go before them. The colors of the gemstones presented to the soul relate to both the elder presenting them and also to the soul observer. The general design of a medallion involves soul attributes, accomplishments, and goals. Like the oracles of old, the elders may show a sign as a warning of impending trouble if what we strive for in life is set aside. The case examples that follow are of clients who saw geometric designs and gemstones on their council emblems. The deciphering of line drawings in geometric designs is not quite as readily discernible as with objects of nature, which include gemstones. There are cultures, such as in Japan, where personal emblems involving line drawings have heraldic overtones. In the Orient, these family symbols worn on clothing could be of natural objects or geometric designs to identify members of a specific clan. As opposed to Japanese clan traditions,
We also know that, I'm going to rewind a little bit of that, but we also know that, geometric patterns hold energy. All right, from what we can tell, they hold some sort of power. And, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that there's some power as it relates to at least this universe that we are involved with, okay? Because we see geometric patterns pop up time and time again, particularly in DMT trip reports, ayahuasca. These things continue to present themselves. I've seen them myself, both in a completely sober state as well as in hallucinogenic state. Okay, so they exist. You can visualize them in the ether, so to say, in the realm. And then you can also travel outside the body and see them through astral projection, out-of-body experience, however you want to term, however you would like to term it. So the point is there is some sort of energy field control with this. I mean, you can really do some serious things with, if you know what's up, if you know what can be beneficial to you. So they use it not just down here, but they use it up there in the astral too. It's both places.
Members of a specific clan. As opposed to Japanese clan traditions, Members of a soul group would not likely see exactly the same emblem displayed by their respective councils. I find the meaning behind swirl designs on geometric emblems to be particularly intriguing. There is a universal aspect to some of them. I have personally seen minor variations of this swirl design on rocks in such diverse locations as Europe, North Africa, Australia, and in the deserts of North America. Many archaeologists call it the life source design. When I asked the subject who saw the design about its meaning at a council meeting, I was told, "The councilwoman who wears the swirl design is reminding me that, starting from within the core of the spirit world, we spiral outward in development and will someday return to the source of our origins. When a swirl..."
Yeah, but you're only allowed to go to the source of your origins if you figure out the scam. But even then, I've really put a heavy emphasis on this, because the New Age crowd that may come across this will say something like, "Oh, well, I've got to return to source," which means I got to return to the creator. What does that mean? We know, based on everything we've seen, that if you're quote unquote returning to something, you're giving up your power. We're dealing with a creator, okay? There could even be multiple creators for all we know. We don't know. That's even like a bigger insult to us, is the fact that maybe there's multiple creators that are out there creating spirits and just pumping them out like an assembly line. But the creator does not require worship. The creator does not require us to go back to it, okay? The creator's job, from everything I can tell, is to create and to continue to create. There's nothing, as far as I'm concerned, to go back to. I think once that is thrown into the mix, then you are open season. You are just wide open to be abused, used, taken advantage of, deceived, manipulated, all that stuff. You have, I have, everybody here has a piece of the creator within. We have the ability to create. We have the ability to consent. We have the ability for free will. Beyond that, taking anything outside, going to anything outside of us, is nothing short of a recipe for disaster. You can revisit this later on, but you know what? I would suggest taking this information with you very seriously and never giving up yourself again. Because that's how we got here. What the hell does the New Age community know anyways? Oh, I want to return to source. It sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds good. I'm not from here. I feel like I should be reuniting with source, merging with source again, whatever the hell the terms they use are. Well, what does that do? It leaves you wide open to be messed with. And I think we've learned our lesson here. It's not a smart place to be. I think it's far too risky. So, that's some food for thought. Make of it what you will.
Who wears the swirl design is reminding me that, starting from within the core of the spirit world, we spiral outward in development and will someday return to the source of our origins. When a swirl or concentric circle design appears on a medallion, the meaning usually relates to a soul's existence within the continuum of life. This sign projects a connotation of spiritual protection as well. In one case, the lines are crooked. Here is what the client who saw this design on an elder had to say. There are 4 rippled lines which come from the outer edges of the insignia from different directions. They converge within the circle of unity, indented in the center of the disk. The crooked lines represent different pathways toward our goal. They are not straight paths because we are imperfect souls. The lines make the insignia.
We are imperfect souls. And you know what? That's where you stay until you figure out the scam. Imperfect. They're telling you right there. Doesn't matter what the hell you do. You're going to fuck up. And if not, we'll figure out the smallest, most minute thing that you did and throw it up against you. And you know what? Excuse me. You're going to fall for it. You're going to end up back here. And we're going to wipe your memory. And guess what? You're screwed. Good luck figuring it out. Unbelievable.
You look fractured, just as most every life seems to be disjointed at times. We may take many turns in our travels, but eventually we will all arrive at the same place in the center.
The same place in the center. We'll arrive to the same place. Yeah. We are a product of the Creator, all right? Everybody here, okay? We're not filled with ego and arrogance, okay? But you're perfect. You're fine. You're good the way you are. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. You're fine. You're perfect. You're going to do what you're going to do. You can't hurt anyone in the astral realm. You can't. You can manipulate, you can deceive, but you can't physically injure and destroy something to the point where they don't exist anymore. Whereas in this realm, you sure as hell can. See the difference? It's just, this is where I just start to get like, ugh. The lion comes out.
I have also been told about celestial signs with star, moon, and sun symbols. After a long while of keeping records of all medallion signs, I realized that a crescent moon design was seen more often than other celestial designations. These kinds of designs, which I will present in Case 44, represent different variations of the crescent moon design in the minds of two clients. The sun gives us golden rays of life-giving light, while the partial moon is a symbol of growth for me. This silver light represents the forces of my potential. As it grows, so does my higher self. I am an interdimensional traveler between lives. The upside-down moon represents the covering and containment of the spirit world, which has jurisdiction over the earth, our universe, and the dimensions around it.
Red flag all up in your face. Let's just hear that again. I want this one to sink in. It's really important. I'm going to rewind about 15 seconds.
I am an interdimensional traveler between lives. The upside-down moon represents the covering and containment of the spirit world.
The covering and containment of the spirit world.
Which has jurisdiction over the earth.
Which has jurisdiction over the earth. Jurisdiction. Know your role. Get in line. And don't think about questioning things. You answer to that. This is what we're dealing with. You see, this is us being completely manhandled, taken advantage of.
The universe and the dimensions around it. The lines at the top of the emblem are pivotal points in my soul travel, which epitomize grounding me to my work. At the bottom of this emblem is the atom star, the purifier light, and connector of universes.
Atom, like Adam and Eve, A-T-O-M, atom.
Generally, when a client speaks of seeing a crescent moon on a medallion, it represents the increasing power of the soul on Earth. My subjects say this is a waxing moon which is growing, as opposed to a waning moon. The sign is often reported to be silver on a gold disc. Straight lines, which are looped, angled, horizontal, or vertical, have countless meanings. For instance, One medallion has 5 straight angled lines at the top. One subject who saw such lines all the way around a disc with no other markings said, "The great star design of these long lines converging down to the center of the disc means I am supported on all sides by the elders on my council. I find it impossible."
It means you're supported by all elders. Oh, isn't that pretty? How cute.
These long lines converging down to the center of the disc means I am supported on all sides by the elders on my council.
Well, that's good. They're all up in your grill the entire time. How wonderful.
I find it impossible to classify the large variety of signs and symbols I hear about, because each is so individual to the soul. One last example of a medallion design combines a geometric pattern with a gemstone. This emblem was reported by a woman whose spiritual name is Uns, who lives in constant pain from fibromyalgia, a disease which inhibits muscle function. Case 43.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to leave off there tonight. So we will pick up at 43 next video. Let me just take a note here. Okay, so I got that. And we're probably going to revisit this. Maybe, I think Saturday will be the next stream to dive into. We'll probably, we'll definitely finish off Chapter 6 and may even start Chapter 7. Just so you know, Chapter 6 is 132 minutes and 20 seconds. We have gone 88 minutes and 50 seconds into the chapter, so we're pretty close to the end of this one. And I just wanted to remind you, anyone new here or anyone who hasn't already subscribed, I have 2 YouTube backup channels. I have a Odyssey, and I have a Twitter. And the best thing I could suggest, I have been getting notifications still about how people are not getting the reminders or the notifications, in their notification window about when the streams are live. The best thing I can say, really, my friends, is to make sure that you have it clicked for all notifications, because there's like a button where you can do some notifications, occasional notifications, and then you have the other one where it's all. So I would suggest hitting that for the main channel here that you're watching on today, and then the 2 backup channels. And again, the backup channels will only be used at this point only if necessary. So they're kind of just a protection, layer protection. I also am working on an outline for a website. It's been something racking my brain for quite some time. My plan is to start a website where I am not reliant, where we are not reliant as a community to bank on YouTube being here, or to bank on this account being here forever. It's a hard thing to deal with. I can't stand it, but everything's fine now. I've pretty much had no problems, but I think it's important that if we can centralize everything to a website, I'm really gonna try and do whatever I can to initiate something where we have like a chat feature, a forum, and maybe even do the live streams on there, or at least have a database of the old videos, and then a resource section of recommended reading, and different things like that. So what I'm doing right now is, if you're interested, I don't know when the website's going to be up. I mean, I'm hoping within the next few months, but if you'd like to be notified of the progress or when it goes live, email me at foreverconsciousresearch@gmail. That's foreverconsciousresearch@gmail. There's no channel in that. And just put in the topic website, and in the body of the email, just put, I'd like to be added to the mailing list or whatever. And I will put your email aside. And when I have a more firm grasp as to how this is all going to unfold, I'll be sure to reach out to you. Trying to think if there was anything else. Yeah, that should be it. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that website. I think it's going to be fun. I'm just I want to make sure, and anyone out there listening, actually, I would appreciate any feedback on what I just mentioned. I want it decentralized. I don't want to rely on something like Amazon or Google servers. I think blockchain hosting seems to be the best option for long-term security. And so, yeah, if you have any suggestions or know somebody who's willing to even just speak with me, I would really, really appreciate that. Because I feel like I'm lost out there trying to figure this out. If it was just some everyday website, it wouldn't be a big deal at all. But this is a big endeavor, and I am not going to put money into it until I know for certain that I have everything, or as much as possible, have it all in line where I'm not going to have to worry about, is my website going to get shut down tomorrow or this or that. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff. So I'd rather do it right the first time and take my time. But anyways, yeah, sorry for the rambling. Feel free to reach out to me by email if you, a friend, a family member, someone who would just be even willing to talk to me for a little while and just kind of express what I'm looking to put on there. And maybe there's some good advice out there from somebody. I would really, really appreciate it. And I think I'll leave it at that. So thank you again, everybody. Much love. Blessings. I will see you soon. I think, again, we'll be doing part 6 on Saturday. But until then, I hope you all stay safe and healthy. And I will catch up with you in the very near future. Much love.